All right, buckle up because we're diving deep into Saw 2 today.
Ooh, good pick.
If you're here with us, you're obviously not just here for a regular horror flick recap, right?
No way.
We're going way deeper on this one, digging into this film analysis someone sent us. Get ready for twisted games, tough moral questions, you know, the usual Saw stuff.
I am so ready. And what I think is so clever about Saw 2 is how it takes that raw, intense feeling from the first movie and just injects it into this way bigger story.
Yeah. And it's not just about a bigger budget for fake blood this time, though there's plenty of that too, of course. But the analysis we're looking at today, they make a big deal about the setting. They say Saw 2 uses this bigger, more complex setting to really crank up the tension.
Totally. I mean, think about it. Saw, they kept us trapped in that one grim bathroom the whole time. But Saw 2, it throws us into this sprawling, messed up house. And suddenly, the whole game changes.
Okay, so let's talk about this change in environment thing for a second. What specifically does this new setting add?
It's like this pressure cooker of forced interaction, right? The characters aren't just fighting the traps themselves, they're stuck with each other. All these past sins and secrets between them just bubbling to the surface. It's just, ugh, a recipe for disaster.
Totally. It's like the analysis said, with the environment and the other characters being threats, every little interaction becomes a potential death sentence.
And that's where Saw 2 really gets you. It's not just the physical horror, it's that chilling feeling that the other people trapped with you.
Yeah.
They might be even more dangerous than the traps themselves.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of terrifying, we can't forget the mastermind behind it all, right? Jigsaw. One thing I found super interesting in this analysis was how deep it went into his whole twisted philosophy. Like, they're arguing that he sees himself as some kind of messed up savior figure.
Right. It's seriously messed up, but the movie wants us to see that Jigsaw isn't some one-dimensional bad guy. Like, he actually believes he's giving these people a second chance, but like a totally horrific, twisted second chance, obviously.
So he's making them face their demons, their wasted potential, by basically putting them through absolute hell.
Yeah, in his mind anyway. It's like this bizarre extreme therapy where they have to face their worst fears and darkest impulses if they want to survive.
Obviously, we are not saying murder and torture are good ways to improve yourself, but this is where Saw 2 gets interesting. It wants you to grapple with the idea that even the villain, even a guy like Jigsaw, can have reasons for doing what they do, reasons beyond just being evil. So, does understanding him more make him scarier or just more complex?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Hmm.
And it's something that sticks with you long after the movie's over. Saw 2 isn't just about cheap scares.
Mm.
It's trying to get a conversation going, make you really question your own sense of right and wrong.
And man, talking about getting under your skin,
Uh,
those traps in Saw 2 are intense. Seriously, nightmare fuel.
Oh, absolutely. But the analysis pointed out something kind of interesting about them. It's not just about the gore, even though, yeah, some of it's pretty rough.
Right, right. I mean, some of those scenes are tough to watch for sure.
Exactly. But what the analysis is saying is that the traps, they're designed with a purpose. Like they're these twisted art pieces with a whole other layer of meaning.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. So it's more than just shock value. Like there's a reason behind the madness.
Exactly. Like that whole syringe pit scene. Super intense, obviously.
Yeah.
But think about it. It plays on this primal fear we all have, right? Contamination. And then it forces this awful choice on you. How far would you go to get out of that pit? Would you risk getting infected to save yourself?
Oh, even thinking about it, it's like it's tapping into these deep-seated fears, forcing us to confront that darkness inside ourselves.
And that's what Saw does so well. It's not just horror for horror's sake. It's reflecting something back at us, something about what it means to be human.
Yeah, that's a good point. And talking about human nature, the analysis also spent some time on Amanda's character, especially in that furnace track scene. Brutal, but it reveals a lot about her past trauma and how Jigsaw uses that to manipulate her. What did you think about that connection?
Man, that's a perfect example of how Saw 2 goes beyond just showing torture. It's weaving these characters past their deepest fears into the traps themselves so their struggles feel more real, more human, even if the methods are still totally messed up.
No, totally. And that reminds me, the analysis calls out that big Amanda twist as a turning point for the whole movie. Without spoiling anything for our listeners, what makes that reveal so important?
Because it makes you rethink everything. Suddenly, everything Amanda does, everything she wants, it all has this whole other layer of meaning. It's a brilliant twist because it's not just shocking, it makes her character way more complex.
So it's like We're trapped in a puzzle too, just like the characters, trying to figure out the truth as we go.
Exactly. And that's what keeps you glued to the screen, wouldn't you say? It's horror, yeah, but it's also a psychological thriller. Saw 2 keeps you guessing right up until the very end.
You know, we're really getting into the nitty-gritty of Saw 2 here, but we got to stay honest with ourselves, right?
Honestly.
Even the best movies have their flaws.
Oh, for sure.
And this analysis isn't afraid to point those out either.
Nope, they definitely go there.
Like, how believable is Jigsaw's plan, really? That's
Yeah.
something they brought up.
Yeah. I mean, as a horror movie, so you got to suspend your disbelief a little.
A little. This is some next level stuff. This guy's terminally ill, but he's running around setting up this insane game.
Okay, yeah, that part's definitely tough to swallow.
But here's the thing. Even with those flaws, Saw 2 just sticks with you.
Oh, it totally does.
It gets under your skin, makes you think, makes you question things, even your own moral compass a little bit.
100%. That's what the analysis said too. Saw 2 pushes us to really examine those big questions we all ask ourselves.
Exactly. Like, fine, we can all agree Jigsaw's methods are totally messed up, right?
Oh, yeah, no question.
But there's something about his whole dot philosophy, his twisted way of looking at life and appreciating it. It makes you stop and think.
Right. Like, are we really that different? I mean, obviously not out here setting up death traps.
No, of course not. But, those little things, those moments where we're not our best selves, makes you wonder.
It's uncomfortable, right?
Right.
But those uncomfortable truths, they're the things that make horror really stick with you.
And I think that's why Saw 2 is such a powerful film. It's more than just entertainment, it's an experience.
Totally. It makes you confront something, both in yourself and the world.
Well, there you have it, folks. We went deep on Saw 2 today, explored the themes, got to know the characters a little better. Hopefully this deep dive gave you a new way to see this movie.
And maybe even spark some thoughts about your own life choices along the way.
Huh. Maybe a little. And hey, next time you're feeling down, just be thankful you're not stuck in a Saw 2 trap, right?
Now that is something to be grateful for.
Truth. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and if you do decide to watch Saw 2 again...
Which you totally should.
Yeah, what they said. Keep an eye out for those creepy tricycles.